It all begins during a night in Rosedale, Mississippi. A couple, Craig and Sadie, are kissing in their car on the Lover's Bridge. The girl hears a sound outside and asks Craig to take a look. Craig, although frightened, gets out of the car and a moment later is lethally struck by a big man with a machete. Sadie runs away, screaming as the killer follows her. Shortly afterward, the killer trips over a rope, and it turns out that it is a trap set by Sadie and her friend Michaela. Poor Craig merely acted as bait. Michaela stuns the killer, and they tie him to a chair in a warehouse. The girls tease the killer, named Lowell, and reveal they have been following him for a long time. The girls say they run a blog about brutal murders called Tragedy Girls. They want Lowell to share his knowledge and skills with them so they can make maniacal stuff for their content. Lowell refuses to cooperate with them and is locked up in a dark room. In the process, Craig begins to moan. He surprisingly survived. Sadie tugs on him and blocks his airway until he dies. Afterward, they cut him into pieces and threw the pieces of his body into acid. The girls write about Craig on their blog and the next day spread the word that the guy is not missing but most likely killed. Professor Kent invites the sheriff, and he says that Craig most likely ran away from home, and that is the only version he has. Later the girls record another video about Craig's disappearance, pointing out the students' indifference and the sheriff's incompetence. Neither the girls nor Jordan, who is his son, like the sheriff's version. By the way, Jordan is in love with Sadie, and the girl wants to take advantage of him by asking him to edit their videos. But they still have little notoriety, and to get more followers, they decide to commit murders in the name of the killer Lowell. At the same time, they will write about the killings on their blog. After cheerleading practice, the girls notice Toby, Michaela's ex-boyfriend. So far, he is the most popular influencer in town. He has tons of followers just because of his charm. The girls approach, and Toby tries to flirt with Michaela while Sadie looks at him with a manic face. In her mind, she was already planning his death. In fact, in the following days, the girls plot how to kill Toby. They lay spikes on the road where he usually rides his motorcycle. At night Michaela follows him in the car and scares him. Toby speeds up and drives into the spikes but manages to survive. Thus, the girls stab him to death. The next morning they prepare to give an interview on the news to boost their blog followers but are turned down. Through Jordan, they find out that the sheriff considers Toby's death a simple traffic accident. Moreover, he is against Jordan working with Sadie and Michaela, but the guy stays on the girl's side. Later, the committee chairman, Sil, suggests canceling the prom to honor the deceased classmates, but the Tragedy Girls don't agree. After that, they go to the showcase where Sil's wooden library model is, the construction for which she hopes to receive a scholarship. The girls decide to end her career and destroy everything. That night, Sil tries to rebuild her artwork with the help of a classmate, who leaves after she screws up a few things. When Sil is left alone, two masked girls enter the workshop and try to scare her. Sil recognizes the shoes of one of the girls and the Tragedy Girls take off their masks. Subsequently, a series of absurd incidents happen that the girls will compare to the movie The Final Destination. They do some terrifying things to avoid letting it be perceived again as an accident. As they tear Sil to pieces, the janitor also arrives, but the dude doesn't look around the room. The girls manage to commit another murder in Lowell's name. They write an article on their blog, which makes them very popular all over town. Even the news reporter who previously turned them down asks for an interview. Jordan approaches Michaela and notices her bloody sneakers, but she covers them up. The article attracted even the sheriff's attention, who says they are jeopardizing the investigation. However, the girls don't intend to stop their blog. Jordan helps his friends make a video of Sil for their performance in front of the school. But their moment of glory is interrupted by a local firefighter, Big L. The big man says he will lead the search for the killer if the police cannot do anything about it. In doing so, he also signs his death warrant. In the evening at the warehouse, Sadie tells Michaela to prepare the poison and leaves. Lowell tries to turn her against Sadie by saying that her friend is just using her. So he offers himself as an expert partner to the girl but fails in this attempt. In the evening, the girls go to the gym, where they catch Big L alone. Michaela enters and tries to flirt with him, after which she accidentally drops his bottle and takes it away to pour poison. Meanwhile, Jordan goes to the police station and suggests to his father that the recent murders may be related to his mother's death. When he is alone, he inserts a flash drive into the police computer and sends a message to Sadie saying that he will come to talk to her in 20 minutes. The girl decides to speed things up and attacks Big L while still conscious. It is not as easy as they thought, and Big L tries to strangle Sadie but is stabbed with a knife. When the man lies on the bench, they drop the barbell on his head. Sadie manages to get home in time for the arrival of Jordan, who stored on the flash drive all the material about the mysterious murders in Rosedale. Jordan promises to help her in their independent investigation. The next day, news of Big L's murder spreads throughout the town, and school is cancelled. People are frightened and demand explanations from the sheriff. Many people go to the town hall, where the sheriff gives a speech to the residents and asks them to remain calm. Jordan arrives and sits behind Sadie and Michaela. The guy notices Michaela using the phone, and soon after, everyone gets an image of Big L's smashed head. The uproar starts and turns into a protest with the slogan, "We remember L," against the incompetence of the local police. The mayor takes the lead, and the citizens proceed to march. In the process, Lowell breaks free and escapes. The citizens continue to march against the police and find their mayor impaled on the road. The girls look terrified at the scene and realize that Lowell has escaped and is now coming to kill them. The next morning they give yet another interview to the press, but just as they leave, Sadie receives an image of herself and realizes that Lowell was a foot away from them. They feel in danger and provide all the details about Lowell, and the sheriff manages to sketch a ragged form of the killer. The girls now go to class, and in the meantime they receive hundreds of likes and followers on social media. Mrs. Kent orders them to turn off their phones and berates them for negative traits, saying they exploit the murders to grow their blog. The girls leave the class and meet with Jordan, who says he can no longer work with them. He has to help his father, but Michaela begins to speak badly of his family. At this point, Michaela gets up to leave and Jordan manages to steal her phone. That night Michaela says they have to kill Jordan, but Sadie objects, saying he is harmless. Michaela says Jordan knows too much and begins to be suspicious of him. Also, the girl realizes that her phone is missing and blames Jordan. Sadie is convinced that they must kill him but says she will do it herself. Meanwhile, Jordan has dinner with his father and later receives a message from Sadie telling him that she is outside his door. Jordan takes her into the room while Michaela listens to them through the microphone. Sadie sits on the bed and prepares to grab the dagger, but Jordan suddenly blurts out all of his suspicions about Michaela. Like the fact that she called her mother's death a murder even though officially it was not, or the blood on her sneakers, the creepy chart from the psychologist, and finally, the unregistered phone he stole from her. All the while, Michaela seethes with rage and can't wait for Sadie to kill him. Jordan begins to talk about all the positive aspects of Sadie and confesses his love. The girl kisses him passionately, but suddenly she hears a noise. Someone knocks on the door, and as soon as Jordan opens it, we see Lowell hitting him with a machete. Lowell and Sadie begin to fight, and Sadie plunges her dagger into the killer's foot. Michaela breaks the window to get the sheriff's attention. Jordan's father wakes up and shoots Lowell. The killer falls out the window, and the sheriff approaches his wounded son. Sadie enters and calls 911 while the sheriff thanks her for saving his son. The next morning he gives her an award for her bravery. Sadie Cunningham says that she will do her best to defend the town of Rosedale. Meanwhile, Michaela is standing in the crowd, jealous because her best friend has received all the accolades. Sadie stops working on the blog and hanging out with Michaela, who enters the gym to talk to Sadie, but the two argue heatedly, and the latter asks her to leave because she no longer needs her. Sadie makes an effort to establish good relationships and starts dating Jordan. Time passes, and prom day finally arrives. Jordan goes to Sadie's house to pick her up, while Michaela dresses up to go to the prom even though she doesn't have a date. During the prom, Sadie and Jordan awkwardly dance together. The girl walks away for a drink and speaks with Mrs. Kent. The teacher admires her change and also tells her that she will put her name forward for a scholarship. Sadie thanks her and returns to Jordan while the principal takes the stage and gives a short speech. The nerdy girl steps forward and announces Jordan and Sadie as prom king and queen. Jordan joyfully gets up and dances with Sadie. Meanwhile, Mrs. Kent goes outside to smoke a cigarette when suddenly Michaela comes up behind her. Lowell also appears and scares her with a machete. Mrs. Kent tries to escape, but Michaela stabs her in the back. Mrs. Kent turns around in agony, and Michaela slits her throat mercilessly. On the other side, Sadie notices Michaela in the crowd and follows her through the school. She finds her in a dark room wearing a pink mask. Jordan follows Sadie and overhears their conversation, in which Michaela reminds her of how they killed Jordan's mother when they were children. Shortly afterward, Lowell also appears, and they both surround Sadie. Just then, Jordan drops the huge wooden board on the murderer and escapes with Sadie. But on their way up the stairs, they are trapped. Lowell pursues them, but instead of attacking them, he turns to Michaela, who eventually kills him with a gun. Jordan confronts Michaela about his mother's murder, and Sadie draws him aside to kiss him. Immediately afterward, she ties the knot around his neck and hangs him with a rope. Then Sadie puts a green mask on her face, and the tragic girls walk off. They set the whole school on fire. Then they sit outside and enjoy their moment as the fire department arrives, and the sheriff watches the entire structure burn with his son inside. If you think they will pay for their murders, you are wrong. In the film's last few moments, we see the enormously happy girls as they bid farewell to their families and ride off to college together. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.